All right. Welcome, welcome. You see that didn't even do right? I just want I just want to say this is the devil. It's nothing but the devil. He does not want this message to get out tonight. He does not want this message to get out tonight. Y'all know what time we were supposed to come on, and everything that could go wrong went wrong. Even up to the minute that I just pressed start, it still was going wrong. And then we finally got it situated. What happened, Fred? The toilet started running. I want y'all to know that's the work of the devil. He does not want this message to get out on tonight. So we just want to thank you all so much. We're not going to be long. Maybe that's why we normally go like an hour or so, but we're not going to be that long tonight. We just want to share what we learned. We're going to give everybody a chance to go ahead on and share the YouTube page. We'll give you a minute we're on Facebook Live and we're also on YouTube. So if you get this link, let's see here, y'all go get the link and share it. We're going to give y'all a couple of seconds to do that. I don't want to rush you. I mean, we're not going to rush y'all. Y'all been waiting on us patiently, so we're not going to rush. We're going to go ahead on and let y'all get this shared out. Fred and I, we had to deviate from the plans. We had a family scheduled to talk tonight, but we have a divine pivot that we needed to be obedient to. We made a pivot for tonight, and we're giving y'all some time right now to share, and we're gonna go ahead on and get started so we won't be so late and belabored on tonight any further. I'd like to welcome you all to the Neals Appeal Show, podcast, whatever you want to call it. You're looking at Fred and Kelly Neal tonight. We are the host. We're our own guest on tonight because, again, we had to deviate from our regularly scheduled program. There was a situation that came up, and God spoke so clear that I told y'all I've been doing this, asking the Lord, hey, who's next, Lord? Who's the next family? Who do we need to talk to next? Who is the next person? Who's up in line? Who's next, right? And so I had someone, just to give you the context right quick, I had someone lined up. She's still going to share out, her and her mom. We're giving them a different date, but had someone lined up, and because of her condition, we just kept hitting and missing. And so I hadn't heard from them, and we were well off into the second week. And so I said, okay, Lord, I'm not going to worry. I'm not going to panic. You've been guiding me the whole way through. We talking to the Lord and we asking him, and then when he answered, we don't like the answer. You know what I'm saying? So I said, Lord, who is next? And he said, you, the Neals. The Neals are next. And I was like, So let me tell y'all what I did. I was talking to my preacher's wife today. I was talking to Shauna. I told her, I said, he said what we were doing next. He didn't say what, he said you at first. That was all I had, was you. And so I was like, I try to act like I ain't hear. You ever got a word from the Lord and it's something you don't want to do, and you try to act like you didn't hear it, but you heard it clear as day? And so I went ahead anyway and reached out to the young lady who was supposed to share tonight. I reached out anyway after he said you clearly, right? And you know how it is. I always had phone issues, didn't even see the response. And so I was feeling like, oh my gosh, it really is us, right? We have the other people set up for the dates they have. And I was like, okay, Lord, okay, you got me. I'm listening. What are we talking about? What is it that you'll have us to talk about? And so we got two different things that he was like, either or. we're both in book clubs and we're reading and we're learning things. And then we are also a part of a cohort, and they have Couples Collective, and we have a coach that we love so dearly. And the coach just happened to be talking about conversational intelligence. And Fred and I had just had a situation where we kind of failed at that, at communicating, and it was like the Lord spoke and said, fix it and show them how we fix it. And so that's the long intro. I was giving y'all a chance to share and get your guest on. And so now we ready to dig in, Fred. You ready? So this is our moment of vulnerability and real-time application. We got a lesson for y'all tonight. We just want to share with y'all what we learned, and it was so helpful in our own real time.
But like she mentioned, you figured after being married 25 years that you have some things down pat, but apparently we don't. Well, let me speak for myself. I don't have all of the nuances down pat as far as, as far as a relationship is concerned. Communication and what are we talking about? Communication and conversation. That's what I was trying to compare it to. Communication and conversation are two totally different. They are connected in some way, shape, form, or fashion, or whatever, but they're yet still different. And there are a lot of books that are out there that speak on communication, but there's nothing really out there on having a conversation. Even we were talking, and even when we go back to when we got married 25 years ago in our premarital counseling, that wasn't even a subject. As a matter of fact, I can't even remember what the counseling was really about, to be honest with you. But I do know that conversation wasn't a part of it. But if it was a part of it back then, we probably could communicate a little better if we had better conversations. So tonight we're gonna dig into controversial intelligence. I don't know why that's so
conversational
intelligence and what have you. And so people talk about emotional intelligence. We talk about relational intelligence, and we talk about leadership intelligence. And so our mentor that we follow behind put it on our hearts to talk about prioritizing conversational intelligence. And basically, and it's just the ability to connect, navigate, and grow relationships through meaningful and effective communications. And like I said, there are many books out there on communications or what have you. And one that comes to mind that we got from my mentor, he talked about John Maxwell has a book out that says, everyone communicates, but few connect. And I'm hearing that's a good book. We haven't read it yet, but our mentor has read it, and we thought we'd piggyback off of him and go, read that book at sometime, later on.
We'll do it together.
In our whatever. But yeah, John Maxwell, he has a book that says everyone communicates, but few connect. And so there's a lot to be said in that or what have you. And so and communicating or prioritizing your conversational intelligence, you'll have better connections with your spouse, your loved ones, or your significant other, whoever that may be.
So there are 5 pillars. So what, again, we, and this is different for us. So y'all, we working through this. It's a little uncomfortable because it's a moment of vulnerability, right, at this time. So y'all just give us some grace on this. Remember our series is trials, traumas, and tragedies, right? And they often come from external situations, and sometimes the hardest trials happen within the marriage itself, especially when there's communication breakdown, right? And so again, one more time, I am just so thankful that we're being obedient accepting the call to be vulnerable. Like our mentor said, when you can be vulnerable and you can talk through things as they're happening, not, you hear a lot of people talk about what happened to them and how they made it through. Well, this is a real time, situation going through right now, which prompted the reason for the pivot. And that's why we titled the show From, Conflict to Connection. And we're going to go into the 5 pillars that every couple, kingdom couple, let's be, because we got couples out here that's just doing their own thing and whatever, but we're speaking to kingdom couples right now, which means you are allowing Jesus Christ, not just for him to be your savior, but also your Lord, right? And so you're following under his rules, under how God designed marriage, not what you feel, right? We're going to talk about the 5 pillars that we just learned. So, Fred, you want to take the first one?
Sure. The first kind of conversation couples should be having is transactional communication. And he summed that up by saying it's rather having small talk, knowing when to have conversations based upon your spouse and how their day went. Um, and he went into all kind of details as far as your transactional, and it's more general type conversation that you have throughout the day or what have you. And so, but he also pointed out that the maturity of the relationship of the marriage or what have you. So making the best decision about a conversation should be had based upon the growth in the relationship with the couple or what have you. There is a immature side and there's a mature side. Now, the immature side, I'm saying, of a transactional conversation is back when we first met. I would butt in on a conversation or have a conversation with my wife and not really know how her day went or what have you. And so, and that was being summed up as an immature conversation or what have you. And so the mature side of that is obviously picking and choosing when to have a conversation, depicted upon your spouse day and how they went or whatever. Find out what went on throughout their day. Have the small talk. And I'm not big on small talk. Most of you know that already or what have you. So, I mean, just like, so how your day went? I'm like, good. And just kind of leave it as that, but not knowing that was her way of trying to find out,
How I can serve
test the
you.
waters of how she can serve me better or have the conversation that she would like to have, what have you. And so, so there's a mature side of having transactional conversation, and there's an immature side of having. And of course, that comes with, a little time, a little, I don't know,
Growth.
Go ahead. A little growth. And
it comes with growth. It comes with, like you said, it's maturity. You're talking about maturity versus not being mature, right? And so, like you said, practical everyday exchanges that keep life running smoothly. Just should be stuff we just like if you have kids, we don't have kids, so your thing would be probably, hey, we dropping the kids off, whatever, drop, like not just leaving the house, not saying nothing, or you and your feelings. No, transactional conversation should be happening all the time, every day, because that's just the everyday whatever's of life. Let me tell you what poor transactional conversation leads to: unnecessary frustration in relationships. Unnecessary. You ain't talking, you ain't saying nothing. Guess what? It's going to be frustrations, and they're going to just lead up and add up and add up and add up to then you're going to explode, right? So transactional, like Fred said, he's not a small talk guy, right? And so when I'm asking, hey, what are you doing today, or what are you getting into today, it's not to keep tabs. Ain't nobody keeping tabs or anything like that, but it's more like we as females, a lot of times we think things through a little bit differently. And so again, I'm asking what you got going on today, because it's really my way of trying to make sure I'm serving you right. What you got going on today? Why I need to know? Because I'm planning on going da 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 da, and I need to get back in time to get to dinner and da 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 da. And so it's not really a small talk thing, and it's all in how you look at it, right? For him, it might be considered small talk. For me, I'm like, I'm trying to serve you well, the best way, me and you, right?
Or one could think that, you're being set up for something, what have you. And so, I mean, why are you asking me all these questions? I mean, where are you going with that? You know what I'm saying? So just come out and say what you got to say or what have you. And so, but that's not really the way to go about, what I'm saying, communication or having a intricate conversation about how your day went or what have you. So,
right. Is that all we need to say on that? Can we go to the next one?
Transaction. Let's see. You covered poor transaction on what that means. Unnecessary leads into frustration or what have you. So, no, I think that's all.
Transaction. Let's help the people with the kids. What they said about the people that have children, right? When they were talking about, say for instance, there's a conversation that needs to be had with your son or your daughter, and so he gave the example of back in their season when they were a little immature. When Coach Shamika would want him to talk to their son, she would mention, "Hey, you need to talk to John. He's something, right?" And so our coach explained, there was a time in the season in their life that when that conversation didn't happen she wanted it to happen at that time. He was like, okay, I'll get to it later. And so it makes it look like he's not being attentive or taking her seriously, right? And so now they're at a point where they've matured to understand each other's it's a time and a place for it, right? You may need to talk to the son, but right now it might not be the right time. And so you have to revisit it, right? So you may not act on it immediately, but just making sure that the other individual is informed that it needs to take place, and then giving space for that. So we don't have kids, but we just wanted to share that because that came through the pipeline as we were listening in and being coached ourselves. So, but that can apply to any other thing. It might not be children. It may be, hey, the fridge need to be fixed. We need to talk about this. How we going to do this? How we going to spend this money? All right. I think that's good for transactional. Can we move on? We ain't going to be long. It's only good. 5 pillars. That's number 1.
5 pillars. It's coincidence though, but all of them start with T. So they could be the 5 T's.
The 5 T's of conversational
intelligence. What have you. So
the 5 T's. We're going to take it and make it ours.
Gotcha.
Okay. Come on. What's the next one?
The next one is tense conversation. Tense conversation, he defined it as expressing disappointment and handling disagreement. Now, some of you all out there may think, okay, what are we tense conversation? Is that a bad conversation? No, it's a situation as to where one may be expressing their opinion about something, their feelings about something, their thoughts about something. And once again, there's a space involved when having tense conversations. You can't, just like we talked about in the transactional, you just can't have tense conversation around your kids. You don't want to have them going off to school saying, well, mom and daddy got in an argument or a fight or a fuss or whatever last night, and they're sharing it with the teachers, and now the teachers get involved. And it's like, well, maybe we need to reach out to the Neals because, Low Fred said that, this, that, and the other. So you kind of have to pick your space and time as far as that is concerned, even in your tense conversations.
Right. At the minute you said tense, my eyes, you wasn't looking, but my eyes got real big for them, like, because nobody likes those hardly, right? But just to piggyback with what Fred said, these are healthy, necessary conversations where we're managing differences of opinion, differences of feelings, vantage points, express our concerns, address issues, and we need to be listening to the person to understand what they're saying. You don't have to necessarily agree, but just listen, hear me out. You're like, we be so on the defense sometimes, you're not hearing me out, right? And so we had, and like this is his last statement, you got to determine when is the best time to have that, because just coming home from work and then you digging in, that's not good. You're going to be defensive. Right? You're going to feel some kind of way. God dog, I just got home from work. Can I take my shoes off?
Yeah. So rather than listen to hear what they're saying, you listening to give a response, and you really haven't heard anything that was being said. So, um, intense conversation is one of those avenues. Like I said, you have to pick and choose when to have those conversations. So, the problem with that is the ability to revisit tense conversations seems to be a problem. Even myself, you try to avoid those conversations because of ill feelings or how she might feel or how she or he might feel or what have you. And what happens is whenever that tense conversation is not resolved or talked about or what have you, now arrives another tense conversation. And so that the current tense conversation overlaps the old conversation. And now we're bringing in the old conversation on top of the new conversation,
the issues.
and then
Right.
Yeah, and then it brings about more and more issues, whatever. So, uh, and they just basically talk about having the ability to revisit tense conversation because we have a tendency not to want to go back there because of how they may feel. We might have got loud, we might have got boisterous, or said some things that we regret saying, and things of that nature.
So being able to tease out the differences, right? I'm a hairstylist, so I said tease out. I don't know what that means to you. I don't know, but being able to tease it out before it gets to, like Fred just said, adding on issue after issue after issue. If you don't, like, we'll say, okay, you notice when he comes through the door, it's not a good time. We'll revisit it later, but you really have to go revisit it. You really need to be intentional in going to visit it, or you'll have what Fred just said. We talking about this now. You bringing that up? That was 2 weeks ago, right? But I never got it out because we never revisited it. Revisited it. How you say that? We never revisited it. Slow down. Take your time. And so it winds up being issue after issue after issue, piled up after piled up after piled up. Frustration after frustration after frustration leads to resentment. Now you walk around the house and ain't no transactional being had because we full of resentment. That's not kingdom, period.
And with that being said, there are times when you need to have a transactional conversation instead of having the tense conversation. Once again, the timing may not be right. You may have company or company coming over for whatever the case may be. But
if you need that time, if the atmosphere ain't right, and the kids, whatever, right? And we keep talking about kids because it's not just about us. We tell them what we learned, but we also trying to share out what we heard that applies to other people too, right? And so, if it's not a kid situation or if it's not the atmosphere right, it just may be you need to cool down, then cool down, but actually set a time and say, we're going to come back around to this. Let's set a date. Let's set a time. Right? Who really does that? Nobody, but we need to. We need to be intentional. All right, that's enough on that one, right, Fred? Did we cover everything?
Yeah, that was pretty good. So we had number one was transactional communication. Number two was tense conversation. And number three is transparent conversation. Having safe spaces to practice vulnerability. They use a weird analogy, when it comes to being transparent. When you're transparent, you can kind of see through things or what have you. And so they use an illustration as to say that couples get naked physically, but never get naked emotionally. Can you
we get naked phically,
yeah,
but very seldom do we get naked emotionally. I love that when they said
why
that.
is that? I mean, we're not embarrassed as far as the nakedness is concerned, but we're
not at all.
We're so standoffish or throw up the shield whenever we try to reveal our emotions.
I actually was going to ask you that because that's mostly a problem in men. Okay. Women, we like spaghetti. We touchy-feely talking. We talk, we let it out. So let me ask you, why is that so? What is, I don't know if it's hard. I don't want to call it something that is not, but what is it that most men, this me and you talking. Well, they listening, but I'm just saying.
Well, I mean,
what is that?
It's a trust and a safety involved. When we talk about our emotions, of course, we've seen each other many times as far as the nakedness is concerned. But there's a side of being insecure or being judged as less of a man as far as emotions is concerned. I think the older I get, I probably cry a little more and probably talking a little more, than I used to 10, 15 years ago, what have you. But emotion is not one of those strong points for a man, but some of our guests that we've had on here, have expressed their emotions, which is surprising to me or what have you, because we those guys are far and few as far as the emotion is concerned.
It's been helpful for you though too to hear these men that we've had on here.
Absolutely.
And
older men at that.
And you're actually encouraged, right?
Absolutely.
So if you are encouraged by it and it helps you, I know what you just said, but it's got to be a point where, like, remember Sister Ira was saying, Brother B has this cohort himself where the men gather. When I said, Brother B, when did you come to realize you needed to fix some things, And he was like, the men got together.
The community.
Yeah. But I think it's still that feeling of you feel like it's going to be thrown back up in your face, right, or talked about,
right,
by me, I may lash it out in an argument or something. That's what you fear.
Right.
And if you're talking to other men, the reason why you don't talk to other men is because you don't want them looking at our relationship like,
or like going to have counseling or whatever. On one of our sessions not long ago, one of the guys talked about going to get some help, going to get some counseling. He didn't want to go do it because he was afraid of what the people might think about him. You know what I'm saying? Oh, and the child, I think there was a child involved. We were talking about autism or something to that nature, what have you. And so, and the response from those that didn't have a clue about what was going on with their child was saying, well, just spank the child, punish the child, beat the child. I mean, but not realizing and knowing the situation with the child or what have you. So you just can't just hammer on a kid when you really don't know what's needed. I mean, there's some counseling involved as far as that is concerned. So get some help.
So can part of your not feeling a safe space have anything to do with your upbringing or the things you dealt with in high school, middle school, or seen? Like, do you think that's the blockage, or something you saw in someone else or on television? Like, because that comes from somewhere. Like, boys ain't supposed to cry, men don't cry, or whatever. Like, is that you don't want to get emotionally naked?
Well, like you said, as part of your upbringing or what have you. So I was raised up around, my older cousins and uncles or what have you. And so that was one of those stigmas they plant in your head or whatever, man up, you know what I'm saying? And, stop crying. If I see you crying, I'm going to give you something to cry for, this, that, and the other, what have you. So yeah, that is part of your upbringing. But at the same time, it was trauma, to a certain extent. And I mean,
so what can help you? We've been married 25 years. What? I don't know how you. I want to see you emotionally naked.
Well, that's something I need help with. I need some assistance with as far as that. So I mean,
because it only helps me again serve you better when I know that. So the other thing they said about transparent conversations was it may not necessarily be you telling me something about me. It could just be you talking
about me.
You,
correct?
Hey, I'm just down today, or it's just not a good time, or or like even when my mom and my dad were sick, and sometimes I would just be in a quiet, maybe I should have come out and said, this it's not a good day. I'm just thinking about da 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 da, things like that. But having those moments where you actually express to your spouse, this is not a good day, or I'm feeling good today. That's what they mean by transparent conversations. And all it does is it just helps with the connection, because I could be walking around thinking, oh, he got attitude today. And that ain't even it. He's thinking about something else.
Correct.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But just like you said, though, I mean, it could be one of those moments to where, you're like you said, your parents have both passed away or whatever. And I'm sure you have your moments as far as, missing your mom and missing your dad or what have you. And so uh, you have to you have to know when to be more gracious towards that time and that moment. Um, but there's some conversation that needs to be had. So you just can't assume, uh,
because if you don't know,
you don't know.
Right.
And so you might react to the situation and make it more worse than it really is.
So what I learned is vulnerability and emotional intimacy. And if you haven't had a safe space to practice that vulnerability in your life or in a season of your marriage, you just don't know how. So we I guess need to unpack and dig into how we can start um practicing or finding that 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 pocket, figure out, should I ask you, hey, is this a good time? You want to express anything? Like, should I ask, or should you be coming out? You already said you're a man of few words. So it's something that we just have to work out. Maybe do it, maybe do an assessment. Like I remember talking to Katrina one time, and she said her and her husband, they have goals and they set things, they check on each other weekly. Maybe we should do that. Do the check bank thing. What was they saying about the depositing from the bank?
Yeah,
they talk
about a love bank. You will have,
Yeah.
and so it was like making deposits regularly,
Right.
and not having to worry about refilling it.
Right. So if you do it on a regular basis,
correct,
it is dang, what did he say? Trying to come back and refill something is harder than just keeping it
correct.
Am I saying it right?
Yeah. Reinforcement. That's actually part of the last one. So we'll get more into that when we get
all right,
to
so we getting ahead of ourselves.
That particular conversation.
Let me say this again on this one before we move. So we on 3, y'all. We did, well, the first one was what, Fred?
Transactional communication or conversation.
Yeah, you said communication, conversation different. So let's use the language. Transactional conversation.
Tense
conversation, transparent conversation. And so you want to give each other grace to grow in this area, because we don't always know how. Fred just explained where that can come from. Y'all know I don't have no problem with it. I'm too old. Y'all saw my last post where I talk about savings. Sometimes I don't know, but the Lord told me, he be telling me to say this stuff to y'all. So every kingdom couple should be doing this, because it's the only way you're actually naked and unashamed. It takes more trust and safety to be emotionally naked than physically.
Naked.
These are deep, soul-bearing, revealing your true self without reservations. And conversations where couples are sharing their thoughts and fears and dreams and struggles, that is needed. That's needed.
And one has to know when to be more gracious when those things are shared about that individual. But once again, that falls back into knowing your spouse.
Yep. All right. Are we what you were saying about feeling low, like when my mom passed and stuff. So one point that they made, if I'm feeling low, you should know not to take it personally, and being more gracious and graceful. Like, know it's a low moment, and that you don't take it personal. So
right, and knowing when to lean in,
right,
and when not to lean in.
Right. The fourth one. Let's go.
Fourth
We
one.
almost done, y'all. We almost done.
Fourth one is transformational conversation.
Wait, Fred, can we do an assessment right quick? Is this helping anybody? Can y'all put in the chat or something? Let us know. Is this helping anybody? Is this helping anybody? Okay, are we getting hearts? That's good. Okay. All right. We only got 2 more, and then we're gonna let y'all have y'all night.
I'm a little sensitive, so y'all give us a little feedback. Put some fire in the chat or something. You know what I'm saying? Some heart, some whatever. We spend a lot of time on this stuff. We'd have it to help not only you guys but help ourselves more so than anything. So, all right. So we want to go back up because these T's they're a little confusing. The first T was transactional conversation. The second T was tense conversation. Third T was transparent conversation. And the fourth one is transformational conversation. You want to elaborate on that?
So, the transformational conversations. Now, we talk a lot about doing. There are 3 ways of doing things, right? You got culture's way, you got church's way. Church as we've made it, not how God has intended it. And then we got the King's way, right? And so the King's way, if you want to put it in life form. So culture, you got sinking, surviving, thriving. Sinking is culture, surviving is church's way. Oh, too blessed to be stressed. Mm-hmm. You surviving, huh? No, thriving, I'm blessed and highly favored. Period. When it's up, when it's down, blessed and highly favored, right? And so you got sinking, surviving, thriving. Thriving is doing the best you can
with the resources you have in the season you're in,
and with the resources you have in the season you're in. Mm-hmm. Thriving. So that's what this whole Neal Appeal podcast is about. Our marriage is thriving. We're going to have these seasons where we are sinking. It is a feeling of surviving, but we want to just have it thriving if we can, and understanding that the King's way, even when circumstances and stuff happen, you can still thrive because it's not external. Your happiness is not external, right? And so understanding life the King's way helps you to see that picture like that, and not just when circumstances hit, everything just drops, right?
And the key thing, not to cut you off, but what you said is about you emphasize seasons. Just like winter, spring, summer, fall. These things happen, in their own season. But a lot of times we put ourselves in cycles. Cycles when you're born, cycles, poor, broke, or whatever the case may be. Those are cycles that I'm saying. We get stuck in cycles, and they never change. You never come out of them. But if it's seasonal, winter only happens but a couple months, or 3 or 4 months out of the year.
Right.
So does spring, fall, and summer.
Right.
So the key word there is seasons,
not cycles.
Not cycles.
Right. So if we're doing third way relationships, we're supposed to be sanctifying each other, right? And this means that he is better and I am better as a result of us coming into relationship with one another. Mm-hmm. Marriage is like that's true sanctification in process, in progress, right?
Right.
Because we're the only ones that really see and know each other like we see and know each other. Right?
Yeah. Transformational conversation is when you should be having conversation about inspiring one another. And a lot of times, one gets on the defense because there's an area of weakness that you might need to work on, and your spouse knows that, and so your spouse points those things out of web. And so a lot of times we become under attack, and we feel like we're being attacked because your spouse or your significant other lets you know, say, hey, listen, you need to tighten up with that business or whatever aspect of life that you're in or what have you. And so it could be money, it could be spending, it can be savings, etc.
Hold on.
Okay.
That's good. Let's go back to that attack. Why do you feel attacked? If we are in a marriage and you should know this, we should be wanting to make each other better. So whatever we're sharing or telling, you'll know if the spirit is one of, getting on or whatever, like, but we're supposed to be in sanctification, right? And so why would you feel attacked or take it personal? What would that be a reason? Why?
What you could be encouraging too, but the disposition of how you come across, I'm saying, one can feel attacked. But because you're animated and you're excited and you want your spouse to do better or get better or whatever the case may be or what have you. And so the connotation, the tone of voice, all those things can make a person feel like they're under attack. Although, it may be your spouse who's supposed to be inspiring you or encouraging you or whatever the case may be. So
you said something the other day that I was like, wow, I was amazed that you said it. You know what I'm talking about?
No, what was that?
I said, why? I said, why do you feel attacked? You don't remember what you said?
I said, because it's true.
Or it may be true.
Or it may be true.
Right. It don't necessarily, it might not be true.
It might not be true, but it's probably a lot of truth in it.
Right. So it might not be the person. You feel attacked because it's an internal thing. You feel like it's true. And so you take on this defense. I'm saying you, but I'm saying us people, right? We're talking about us, our situation, but yeah, most times you'll feel attacked because there's that insecurity of it being true, right? But you understand that that's that maturity and, getting to that point where you understand she has my best interest in mind. Right. Finish what you were saying. Did you?
No, that was it. It can't, transformation conversation, I'm saying, it's not always about, the relationship. What I was saying was it could be related to, you guys may have a business going on, we might need to tighten up in the business or do some cutbacks on, how much paper we're printing out and things of that nature, whatever, which involves money, spending, and savings. I mean, if you're spending, money just willy-nilly, having a budget in place or what have you. And so you have no savings or a savings plan, which is what we kind of discussed and which we're working on as far as that is concerned. So savings is nowhere near where we would like for it to be. And it's a shame.
I'm ashamed about it, but there's therefore no condemnation.
Half a century.
Right.
and not have nothing really to show for it. But, but we're working toward it. We're thriving.
We're thriving. So that transformational conversation, encouragement, vision, growth conversations, right? We're challenging and inspiring each other to grow. Uplifting, right? We're going to have those uplifting, purpose-driven conversations. We just have to, if there's going to be growth. And we got to be at the level where we're not taking offense to what is being said. Yes, your spouse sometimes sees the blind spots and sees it differently than you. Sometimes we be missing it, So being able to hear from someone and not be on the defense because they truly care about you and are looking out, for your best interest, that's being able to decipher that and discern that it's not coming from ill intent. Let me see. There may be some areas where the spouse needs to grow in an area. So I like this example they gave. I'm gonna touch on this and then we'll get on the last one. So my coach said it's not like we're not like on an attack, but there may be some areas that you need to grow. And you have to approach it the right way, right? Like Fred said earlier, the delivery matters. And you're supposed to speak the truth in love and have it seasoned the right way. And if you're really attentive to your spouse, there will be some areas where you will see that nobody else sees. Of course, because this is why this is the most sanctifying relationship that you're going to ever have, because this person sees more of you than anybody else. So if they saying something to you, it's to help you. You know what I'm saying? And then how do you know this ain't being talked about or said amongst others about you, right? Your wife is seeing it and your wife is saying, hey, I'm noticing this, right? And so the couple brought out, they did like this assessment thing. And it was like, let's go over this, let's go over that. And so Coach Shamika said something like, and maybe I could say, hey, honey, I think you should work on this, 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 and that. And then PD was like, no, that ain't that.
That's not what the assessment,
he was like,
assessment is about.
We ain't doing that. He said, how about we have our list?
Yeah.
And then he said, he asked her, honey, which one of these do you think I should work on in this season that will serve you best? Like it's for Fred to ask me, which one do you think? Not me to just come out and be like, you need to work on number 3 and number 4. You know, can you see how that could be like very tense and turn into a tense conversation that is like,
yeah, now you're under attack.
Right. Now you're under now you're under attack feeling. So it's all in the matter of figuring out the best way that works. But just to kind of take the boxing gloves off of it, there's an assessment, and anybody that wants this assessment, we'll get it to you. But you take it for yourself on your own. It's like self-awareness. Go down the line. I need help in this area. I'm already all right in this area. The assessment is for you. And then y'all come together and you share it, what your numbers are. And then you ask each other, for the season
from 1 to 10. You know, I suck at it, number 1, and 10. I'm
already
good.
I'm good in this.
I'm
I don't need much help.
I don't need much in this on this particular transaction or conversation.
Right. And these this should be done so that we can. This is how we helping each other to grow, right? When we're talking about the transformational conversation, right? We're helping each other to grow, but it's not you coming in pointing out. It's you, but you have to want to. You have to want to grow, and you have to want to know from me where you should grow. Because see, growth takes work. Nobody want to do that because it take work. We didn't want to do this show because it take work. We had to watch this and take notes. We had our own situation where we were hardly transactional talking, right? Because we were still I was still in my feelings. Fred might have been, but I was still in my feelings. And now we gotta work through this. It's accountability. It's accountability, right? So we working through it. We can't tell y'all how to grow through it if we don't even go through it, right? So it's work. It takes work, but it feels right and it feels better in the end, especially when you're doing kingdom relationships, kingdom couples, kingdom marriage, the way the King would have it. All right, we're on the last one.
5 kinds of conversations couples should be having. Number 1 was transactional. Number 2, tense conversation. Number 3, transparent conversation. Number 4 was transformational. And number 5 is tender.
Now this is my kind right here.
Tender conversation.
I feel warm inside. This I like tender. I'm really not a PDA, public display of affection, but you ain't.
I'm sorry, I'm not.
Yeah, because I be trying to hug you and you see? You see that right there? They caught you. Like you stop. Why you do that?
That ain't for everybody.
I can hug you in the life.
See, if you would look at Andy Griffith, they display that, I'm saying if a man kissed a woman in public, they got married.
They what?
Right then, you have to watch the show. I mean, I got some old heads on here. Y'all watch Andy Griffith. They are real old school when it comes to displaying public affection, publicly. Um, it's just old school.
So tender conversation, old school. That's old school. No. Some men love that. If you a man and you in a chat and you like put PDA, I like PDA. The tender conversation. These are sweet, affectionate moments where love is expressed verbally, being complimentary, right? Words of affirmation don't just nourish the heart, they reinforce emotional security.
And it also says that when you're in the habit of having tender conversations, it reinforces emotional security. And you don't have to go back and refill that love bank that we talked about earlier, what have you. So, stay in the habit of being affectionate, not only telling them but showing, or vice versa.
Right, because if I'm walking around thinking it's not, then now you're not in the practice of doing it now. So when you say it, it's a refill. You gotta keep trying to refill the cup when it should just be already normal, regular. I like these. I love tender conversations. I'm tender. I like tender conversations. Like these just, it helps just to you know how you be like, I love you. No, I don't. I mean, I know what you're saying, but I want to hear it. I want to hear it, and I want to hear it more than just when you're going out the door. Like just be, I love you. You know what I'm saying? That's what I like. But I don't know. Everybody's everybody different. Let's get to this chat. Let's get to this chat again. We just wanted to, like I said, this is real. This is a real problem in a lot of marriages. And it's a lot of marriages around here walking around ain't hardly speaking. Just it's not right, it's not good, and it stems from something. But if we could start practicing these 5 conversational pieces, transactional, if we could really like incorporate these in our marriages, I think it would help for a better marriage, period, all around. It's important. I wanted to share. Oh, let me go to the chat first, and then we'll come back out and finish with the Neals appeal. Give us some action steps that we want you all to reflect, right? Like put in the. I mean, is this a problem for anybody else, or are we y'all good? What I mean,
or is it just us?
Is it something that you could do extra steps, like extra? I could be more of extra number 5, or more transactional, or more transparent, right?
Yeah, but in a nutshell, the mentor, he used a great analogy. He said blood is to the body what conversation is to a relationship. And he went on to say that blood serves as a transportation system for oxygen, nutrients, and vitamins. Just like the body needs all of these things, so does conversation in a relationship.
That's real.
I thought of course, he went into more detail as far as that is concerned, but I thought that was a pretty good analogy. Just like we talk about counseling, back in the day, people thought people were nuts if they went and got some help, some counseling from outside of.
Yep.
I mean, these people are in these positions for a reason. So take advantage of it. You need some help, you don't bottle too much, you need some help. You need some counseling, some AA action.
So let's read the chat right quick, and then we'll retire. So we got Nishan Warren said exactly. She must have was agreeing with something. Tiffany says yes, great tips. These are great conversation starters. Great information, Kelly and Fred. That's what Tracy Jefferson said. Tiffany, repeat and thrive. Use what you have while you can for the season you're in. Neil Appeal. Oh, look at Brian. Hey, Brian. Um, these tools will only work if both spouses, are willing to do the work. If one is working and the other one is making excuses not to do the work, it won't work. I feel that it's unfair for a spouse to feel attacked when an issue is brought up several times in calm but ignored. Eventually, the delivery may appear to be an emotional, a passionate attack because one spouse felt ignored on the issue. How do you remedy that situation? Well, first, this is great, Lasagna. Thank you for this question. How you doing, girl? How you been? But when you said these tools will only work if both spouses are willing to do the work, I had to learn that even if Fred does not do the work, I still have to do my side, my work, right? And eventually, if we really trust and have faith in God, like we say we do, we're supposed to be praying for our husbands that God soften their heart. And they're supposed to see by our example what we're doing, right? So it's not for me to go around afraid and say, I'm the one doing this, I'm the one doing that. You ain't trying, you ain't this, you ain't that. That's not for me. I'm supposed to just keep doing. I'm supposed to just keep trying because I have to answer to God. Fred does too. And so what we're supposed to be doing, Lasonia, is praying, right? Praying for ourselves, praying for our spouse. That 30-day challenge that I did was for me to work on being the best version of me that I can be, right? Because a better me, a better we, whether the other part of the we is we in or not, right? Because now I can not focus so much on what he's not doing or the part he's not feeling. If I just stay focused, I'm seeking God, I'm asking for wisdom from God, I'm keeping this right relationship with God. Eventually, this will pan out to where I can have more grace until he comes around to where he's, feels the need to make the changes and do the things that he should be doing, right? Because really the fault, it ain't against you. They made an oath with God too. So they breaking the oath with God when they around here not doing what they supposed to be doing. Or when we're around here not doing what we're supposed to be doing. So I, I mean, it's better when both people are working on it, but when they're not, the one working on it is good enough, and your prayers, and hopefully eventually they will see it through you, and it'll catch on because they'll see you growing. They'll see you not getting mad at the same stuff anymore and having a different attitude.
And then he or she will realize and see how much of a hypocrite they are, going to service or church or wherever you do every Sunday or whatever, and proclaiming how much you love the Lord. And you don't even love the one that's next to you, that you sleep with, that you feed, that you share kids with, for the most part. So, I mean, you owe it to God first, what I'm saying, and then to your spouse, whatever. So pray for him or her, whatever the case may be.
Some more comments in the chat. Yes, we are not each other's enemies. Georgia Charlie, hey Georgia. Great topic, sis, she said. Got a lot of people watching. Yes, it's a problem, issue. Hey, we coach too. So we can we've been together 10 years and married 9. These have had weird shift. We are in counseling though. That's good because most men won't go to counseling. Why is that, Fred?
Like I said, it just shows vulnerability. I mean, you looked at differently, when you go get help.
Yep, but you're not. You actually looked at. It's commendable to me the fact that you want help. You think you need help and you want help. That's just self-awareness. So, Jason Mills, hey, that's Amby. Okay, Jason. They are newly engaged. Thank you for the insight. Yes. 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 Understand. We're doing marriage God's way, the way God intended. Denise James says, Amen. Amen to what, girl? You crazy. Great point. I just don't want our marriage to fail. Well, stop saying that. That's one. That's key. It won't. You won't let it fail. I'm in desperation to make sure I don't lose the man I love dearly. He's my boo. Sometimes I don't feel like I'm his all the time. Thank you for the awesome advice. You're welcome. Sometimes I don't, can I be honest with you? Sometimes I don't feel like that either. And guess what? I don't think me and you are the only two that don't feel like that sometimes. Fred, you feel like that sometimes?
Absolutely.
Why is that? Why you think that is?
Probably got a lot to do with, non conversation or lack of conversation.
Well, I most certainly will say that this definitely came. I don't believe in coincidence. Um, just a moment of transparency and truth and vulnerability. I myself was the one. I just wasn't myself. Um, just emotional, still, working through the offense, right? And God, he's so God, I love you, God. You funny, God. It's just so funny that this lesson came 2 or 3 days after we had our breakdown in communication. 2 or 3 days after, or something like that. And it was like he was so clear, like I said in the beginning, of what we needed to talk about and what we needed to do because we ourselves had to work through this. And he's like, the whole reason for the show, share what you're going through, share what you're learning about, help my people, because we got too many. It's just giving up and walking out on this, you know. And I hope this was encouraging tonight for you all, people inspiring to be married, people that are married. You can get this sparked back up. It's all on you. Um, it's all on you if you really want to do this or not. So we want to encourage you to take a look at one of these five and see if you can improve on one. Work it one at a time. Go through, do a personal assessment yourself. How am I on transactional conversations with my wife or with my husband from 1 to 10? One being, I suck at it. 10 being, oh, I'm good in this area. I need to work on something. Like, take a personal assessment of it and see, doesn't your marriage, grow a little bit better and get better with you actually working on something, right? So if we can leave you with a Neal appeal for this week. First of all, we want to thank you for listening to us. Why you laughing?
I was thinking about Andy Griffith Show. There's an episode on there where a couple was having some issues, and of course, Andy goes in, steps in, and say, "Good morning, honey. Good morning, dear." And that's something that they had to do or what have you. But it's a long story.
Oh,
that's just one of those.
They was
shows.
mad, and he still said, "Good morning, honey." Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So it's just like we talked about as far as the Tinder. What was that Tinder conversation?
Mm-hmm.
Get used to doing that, but it didn't work out for them. They were more loving when they were fighting. So, but that's a whole nother story.
I'm not an Andy Griffith.
I'm an Andy Griffith fan.
I know you and your grandma used to watch it. Yeah. But we just wanted to. We hope it was impactful, and we know a lot of you can relate to it because if anybody been married, like Wes say, over 3 days, you done had some issues, right? So let's leave you with something. If you could reflect on which type of conversation you're having the most and where you can grow. We want to encourage you to think on that and work on improving this communication in your own marriage this week. Work on be intentional. Ask your spouse. Go to your spouse and ask your spouse, do you want to do this? And we continue to five. You know, we got the examples again of what they were. We continue to five or whatever. Ask your spouse, do they want to do this? But I think it's very helpful. It certainly has helped us to talk through what we were going through, and we're conscious of it now, right? Going forward.
It just takes all the guesswork out, you know. I mean, just be upfront. Ask your spouse, hey, what's going on? I mean, they're all the necessary questions, but like I said, choose the space and the time. You know, sometimes it may not be the right time, but you don't know until you ask.
Yep. So conflict doesn't have to divide. It can really, when you have these conversations, you actually can connect better. Can be the bridge to a deeper connection when you approach it with wisdom. So we're asking y'all to remove the feelings of it. Lasagna, remove the feelings. Tiffany, remove the feelings. Nishan, remove the feelings. I'm just calling out names that I know were tuned in tonight because y'all married too. And we'd be a fool to think, you know, we haven't had some of these issues together. We haven't shared some of these issues together. So remove the feelings. We live by faith, not by feelings, right? So let's just work on that. That Neals appeal is for y'all to really reflect and go through these 5 pillars. We need them. We need to be having transactional every day. Might not be transformational every day, but definitely transactional every day. And also tender every day. Right? Transparent can have its moment. Transformational can have its moment. What was the other one? And tense can have its moment. But definitely transactional. Every time I say tense, I do my eyes like that. But definitely transactional and tender should be every day. So we want to thank y'all for tuning in. We apologize again for all the technical difficulties, but we now know that really was the work of the devil trying not to get this message out. So we love y'all. We thank y'all for joining. Fred, is there anything else you would like to say?
No.
Next week, we'll be back to our regularly scheduled.
Next week.
I'm sorry, not next week. 2 Tuesdays. So on the 18th, we'll see y'all back here again, 8:30 with our special guest. Good, Fred? Anything else?
No, just love the one you're with, you know, because that next one might not be so. Listen, I know this level of crazy. That next one might not be it. Who was that? Who was the lady at the well that had I heard that 5 husbands.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, we have a tendency to talk about her having her 5 husbands, but guess what? PD, I shouldn't say his name, but my mentor pointed out that she had options.
She
had options, but you know, we talk about, you know, the woman at the well and the other, and you know, and Jesus told her that one you with ain't even yours, you know, this, not the other, whatever. And so she was at the well to drink water, but he was gonna fix her problem. But you have to look at, you know, the brighter side of things and what happened. So there's some of us don't have options. She had 5 options, and he pointed out that them men were standing in line. So you know, I hate them. I don't want to meet her. She had 5 dudes lined up. You know, no matter how many miles she had, you know, she had options.
It's time to go.
Okay.
All right. I love y'all. Thank y'all for joining in. We'll see y'all in 2 weeks.